So welcome back from the break there, and let's now get into the NPP's special delegates conference coming up on Saturday. They have 10 flag bearer aspirants, and they're going to prune them down to 5. So who amongst the 10 will join the last 5? Let's share with you, all that we've gathered on the candidate and what it means. Now there are 10 people who are vying for this. Now we have Kennedy Ejapon, who is the Member of Parliament for Asin Central. We have Alan Chamantin, former Trade and Industry Minister. Joe Gate is MP for Iskado Keten constituency and former Railway Development Minister. Kwadwo Poku is an energy analyst. Dr. Efriye Akoto is a former Agri Minister. Kwabena Ejapon is a former General Secretary of the party. Honorable Adai Nemo is also a former Member of Parliament. Dr. Kofi Kunedo Apreko has been around for a very long time, a former Minister of State. Boache Jako is a former Minister of Energy, the first Energy Minister for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo when he assumed the reins of power. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is the Vice President, and he is amongst the 10. Now, what are the polls saying? Now, Global Info Analytics has put out the findings of their research, and the question is who leads the NPP. Per their findings, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is leading the race with 36%. Alan Chamantin comes next with 33.30%. Kennedy Ejapon, the man who's regarded as a grassroots man, is third with 24.80%. Kwabena Ejapon comes next with 1.5%. Dr. Efriye Akoto comes up fifth with 1.10%. Boache Ejapon comes next with 0.90%. Kwadwo Poku comes next with 0.70%. Joe Gate comes next with 0.70%. Dr. Kofi Kunedo Apreko comes next with 0.60%. So if you're looking at the position, it means that Bawumia first, Alan second, Kennedy Ejapon third, Kwabena Ejapon fourth, Dr. Efriye Akoto fifth, Boache Jako sixth, Kwadwo Poku seventh, Joe Gate eighth, Kunedo Apreko ninth, Adai Nemo is 10th with 0.40%. So that's what the Global Info Analytics is saying. So who makes the first 5? Per their research, so who lead the NPP? But if you are looking at the first 5 of it, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will come first with 33.30%. Alan Chamantin will take the second spot with 7.70%. That's a huge gap there. Kennedy Ejapon follows third with 4.30%. Kwabena Ejapon comes fourth with 1.80%, and Dr. Efriye Akoto would come fifth with 0.60%. So that is what the Global Info Analytics survey is pointing to. All right. Now, let's come into the studio, and we have one of the aspirant, Kwadwo Poku, who is an energy analyst and a first timer joining me in studio. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm well. And yourself?
Very well, very well. Just got back into the city yesterday, last night. I was in Takoradi to wrap up my campaign. I'm back.
You have an election tomorrow.
Yes.
How's the feeling like?
Oh, very great. Look, I'm very happy with myself because I think I've done the work that I need to do.
Okay.
If I have not done the work I wanted to do, then I'll feel a bit down and I think I've not done enough. But I think I've done what I need to do. And we just have to wait for the delegates to prove us right that we've done the work.
Okay. All right. Now, joining us via Zoom is Dr. John Osai Kopong. He's a CDD fellow. Good morning and welcome.
Morning. Thank you very much for having me.
I guess our young ladies are not disturbing, huh?
No, they are asleep.
Nice to have you. Let me start with Kwadwo. So, you've gone round. You've interacted with the people. What is it looking like?
Well, one thing I can tell you for sure, that Global Info Analytic, they sat in their room and did that survey. And look, everybody should take my word. Come tomorrow evening, those guys should not be allowed to publish anything in this country again.
Really?
I'm telling you, I'm saying this on Joy. Global Info Analytics are just guys who just basically are paid guns to sit in their room and write whatever they want. Don't take my word for it. Let's wait till what happens tomorrow. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have a voodoo where they can conjure things and it comes through. But I'm telling you that what they put out there is completely wrong. Look, there are margins of error in statistics, and they are way out of their margin of error. To look at what is going on the ground as we have it today and put those numbers as what you have done, brother, I'm sorry. I'm telling you.
So you are coming back from the ground.
Yes.
Let's understand how the picture is.
Okay, so the picture is that, look, there isn't going to be a runaway winner. It's going to be a very competitive election tomorrow. People are discounting the reality on the ground, thinking that it doesn't matter. It does. The NPP party is in government, but there are people within the party that feel far away from government.
Okay.
So for people to think that all is well and they are going to see certain individuals get certain huge numbers because they are the most known or the most popular, well, like I said, tomorrow is 24 hours at most.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see.
That will be right only if indeed, like you said, they sat in the room and did it. But if they went to the ground,
they did not. I'm telling you, and I'm putting on record, they did not go to any ground. But you don't take my word for it. Wait to see the results tomorrow evening. Then you now say, this boy knew what he was talking about.
Okay.
It's not.
So from the ground, you are making the fact.
On the ground, these numbers are nowhere reflective of what's on the ground. Look, there are certain names that people know. There are certain names that will be in the 5. But they will not get those numbers that they put out there. It's not reflective of anything. You see, like I said, if you go to the ground and you do a top 5 survey and you come back and give these numbers, who have been talking to the delegates, and they tell me the state they are in, and it's one or the other.
Okay. All right. So it's the AM show. We're talking about the MPP's special delegates conference that's coming up tomorrow to whittle down the 10 aspirants to 5. And I'm in studio with Kwadwo Pokun, who is one of the aspirants. And on Zoom is Dr. John Osai Kwapong. He is a CDD fellow. In between time, we'll be speaking with the Director of Research and Elections for the NPP, Evans Nemako, Dr. Ransford Jampo, who will also be joining us, and we'll be crossing over to Kumasi to bring you, what is happening in the Ashanti region as well. Let me bring in Dr. Osai Kwapong now. Doc, as we gear towards tomorrow, what's your expectation like? What should the party be considering in deciding on who becomes part of the 5? Doc, kindly unmute for us so we can hear what you're telling us.
Yes, I've unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm sure one of the things that would definitely be on the minds of the super delegates would be which of the candidates they believe would present them with the best chance of holding on to power come the 2024 election. So I'm sure that's one of the things that definitely they'll be thinking about. I'm sure they would also be, thinking about all of the, the 10 things like who has built enough, connections with the party, connections to the grassroots, how deep their investment is in the party in terms of their time, their commitment over the years, etc., etc. I'm sure they would factor all of those things in. For me, the key thing some of the key things that I'll be looking for is to see not just who emerges in the top 5, but what the margins would look like, among the top 5. Because I think that would send some kind of a signal. I mean, I know these are just 900 and almost 960 delegates, and there's a much bigger electoral college that would decide the eventual fate of the 5 who emerge, come November. But it will be interesting just to see not just who wins, but the margins by which they win, and whether the bigger electoral college then will be taking some signals from the super delegates tomorrow. But I think these will be some of the things that will be on the minds of the super delegates tomorrow as they try and prune the 10 down to 5.
Kwadwo, so why must the delegate choose you to be the amongst the 5?
Well, let me quickly inform my brother something. Look, he shouldn't look and take anything from the margins. We are all aware of, and some of us have come to the realization that there's going to be one candidate that's going to get a very big margin. Because if you look at the album, and the number is 955, not 958, the total number of people who are going to vote is 955. Okay. A chunk of that is basically shaped in a certain direction, okay, which we all know that one candidate will get a very big margin. For me, that doesn't bother me. I think that what's going to happen tomorrow is that there are going to be 5 winners. And all those 5, it doesn't matter what anybody gets. If the person gets 98 and somebody gets 2, somebody gets 3, everybody that makes through the 5 is a winner. Nobody should read meaning into that analysis, because statistically, 955 cannot be a representation of 230,000. Because it's not even 1% of the bigger number in November 4th. November 4th, you have 230,000 people going to vote. Tomorrow, you have 955 people going to vote. If somebody gets, let's say, upward of 60% of that number, nobody should read into it that because that person got over 60% of 955, it's a representation of what the person is going to get in the 230,000. Because the majority, the 198,000 of the 230, are not even involved in this election. So you have the polling station executives, you have the electoral area coordinators, who makes up to about 200,000 of our electoral college, and they are not involved in this election. So how they will vote, nobody in the 955 can dictate to those people. So nobody, I want to inform him that nobody should inference that because somebody will get an upwards of 60% tomorrow is a translation to what the person will get in November 4th.
That you think the outcome of tomorrow will not have any repercussion whatever on
not at all. No, if anything, if anybody gets overconfident, knowing that, I got over 60% in August 26, so I'm going to get 60% in November 4th, good luck to that person. But I am telling you that from my work and from my exercise with interacting with everybody, those at the grassroots, because if there were some, let's assume that the electoral area coordinators, if in this election we are doing tomorrow, electoral area coordinators are supervisors of the polling station executives. So if the electoral area coordinators were part of tomorrow's election and somebody gets a certain margin, then you can infer that, then the thinking among the electoral area the electoral areas, which the polling station sits, okay, it gives you an idea. They are not involved. The person involved is the chairman of the constituency.
And the chairman represents
the chairman of the constituency. No, the chairman of the constituency have no influence, none whatsoever, in most of the constituencies, not all, most of the constituencies. The chairman. Look, these grassroots, that's why we call them grassroots for a reason. They sit there, they do the legwork, they do the door-to-door, and they are deeply upset. So, look, let's not undermine the temperature and the feelings of the people at the grassroots. Anybody that takes that for granted and think that the elite in the party, and the superdelegates are the elite in the party, okay? They are the elite, the chairman, the national executive, the regional executive, they are the elite. If they think that they are going to determine who becomes the next leader of the party, anybody who infers from that has a next thing coming. But let me go on to your question, why I think people will vote for me. Look, I have built a certain level of relationship with delegates. And that relationship for me is going to change the face of politics in this country. Politics of wear, use, and dump. Somebody comes to you, they want something from you, and then that's the only time that they know you, right? So you now listen to them, you do what they want, and afterwards, you can't call them, you can't text them, they are not your friend.
Okay.
I, Kojo Poku, am changing that. I am changing that whereby I am building a relationship and a family with these delegates, where it's not only do I know them, they also know me. So there is a two-way communication at all times among all delegates. My number, which is my personal number for 20 years, is on all my platforms. Anybody on that platform sends a message, I reply. Anybody on that platform makes a comment, I reply. I'm probably the only candidate who is on most of the NPP platform personally, not through agents or reps. And I'm always interacting with these people on the platforms. So there's a new sense of politics coming.
It's not because you are new and you want to make inroads.
Why? Why am I new and want to make? I'm not new. I mean, I've been doing that with my business. Hold on, I'm just saying that I've been doing that in my business. Okay. Everybody I've interacted with, everybody that knows me knows that you call me, I pick up, you send a message, I reply. It's not new to make inroads. My point is that most politicians think that somebody calling you or sending you a message is a disturbance. It's a nuisance. I see it otherwise. People calling you are calling you for three things. One, to check up on you. Two, to probably get a direction or advice on something. Or three, to ask for help. I can attend to all three. You are greeting me, I'll greet you back. You want advice, I'll give the advice. You're asking for help. If I can, I'll help. If I can, I'll find out somebody who can help you. Nobody can help, I'm sorry. This time, not possible. Very simple. It doesn't matter how many calls or how many messages that comes through. I, Kojo Poku, deals with it. That is the difference, and that is what I bring to politics. And people keep saying, the calls are plenty. The calls are plenty. If you don't want the calls to be plenty, don't get into elective position. I, Kojo Poku, I'm a CEO and a chairman of a lot of multinational companies. In my setup, I dictate who calls me and who doesn't call me. You come to my office, you ask for my number, I say, look, sorry, we can't give you boss's number, right? In politics, it's different. You cannot do that. Because you are an elected person, and I knew this before I came into this space, that if you get into that space and your number is out there among 200,000 people, you are going to get 200,000 text messages and phone calls. You must be prepared to deal with it, and I'm prepared to deal with it. Maybe you can't pick all calls, but thank God for WhatsApp. For WhatsApp, I can reply 100, 200, 300,000 messages when I sit. It doesn't matter. Scroll through, reply the ones you want to reply. The groups, if you want to look at them, fine. But do not ignore people. Not when they have helped you to get to an elected position. That is what I bring to the table.
Is it enough to win the party the power they look for in 2024?
To win the party the power is somebody with ideas, somebody that understands the economy, somebody that understands the energy sector. Look, energy sector today is 60% of the economy, right? If electricity price is going up 1st of September, everybody's worried. Petrol prices go up the last window, everybody's worried. And I, Kojo Poku, understand that more than all the 10 people. I know how to bring in new policies to reduce the fuel prices, to make sure that we revamp the BDC OMC situation, to make sure that, look, that has not helped. When Kufuor introduced it, they had a certain mindset. The BDCs and the OMC thing has not worked, so that needs to be reformed. And that will basically bring relief to Ghanaians. The energy sector, we need PSP in the power sector to basically make sure that customer service is 100%, and we get investment to reduce the losses, which is the technical and commercial losses, from over 29% to less than 15%. I, Kojo Poku, understand that. So that's an area that Ghanaians can be comfortable that if I'm the one leading the party, we are going to get relief in those areas. Then you go to all the other economies. I have talked about my early childhood education, where I think that no child is born not clever. Every child is born. Whether he's clever or not clever determines the leadership and where the person is born. So I want to start early childhood education, where we have best the good curriculum for nursery, the good curriculum for early primary, then make sure that public primary schools are habitable. Today, they are eyesores. Public primary schools around the country are eyesore. You won't take your child there. So I want my family to be able to take their kids to the public school, the sitos that our parents went to. I want that thing to come back. That's the only way you reduce standard of living. Today, most people in Accra are looking for extra money to pay dollar to take their kids to these private schools. If we now go back and we have FCube, right? Free compulsory primary universal education. So primary school is free. So the only reason I'm looking for more money to take my kids to private school is because I won't take my kids to the free school. It's an eyesore. So I need to fix that. And when you fix that, the civil servants and the average middle class will be able to take their kids to this primary education and save that money. Otherwise, they'll give to the private school. Today, if you go to East Legon, the most emerging business is these nurseries and these early primary educations. Why is that? Because nobody wants to take their kid to the government school, which is free. So we need to fix it. And I want to fix it.
You're fixing it throughout Ghana. How are you going to do it?
How am I going to do it? How? With money, finances? Look, my brother, I have said that we need to save money. All the debt that we have in this country, we never got into that debt because we thought we'll pay through our taxes. We got into that debt because we found oil. In 2007, we found oil. 2011, we did first production. We went to the international bond market with a document saying that, please, we have found oil. Give us money today. In 10 years, we'll have increased our oil production and would have paid off, we'll be able to pay off this loan you're giving us. What has happened to the oil find that we had in 2007 and production 2011? We started off with 120,000 barrels a day production in 2011. Today, where are we? Still 120,000. Why? Because we've put in politics, we've put in nuisance, we've put in all the things that basically is not supposed to be in there. Most of the companies have come and left. ExxonMobil. Don't let anybody tell you why Exxon left. Exxon is now in Guyana. And the Ghanaian community in the oil and gas, from NPA to everybody, is going to Guyana, that they are going to help Guyana to do whatever. Meanwhile, ExxonMobil, that you are saying that he left because of energy transition, ExxonMobil is the one in Guyana. ExxonMobil did not leave Ghana because of energy transition. Oil companies are not leaving anywhere because of energy transition. They left because they didn't like the politics in the oil sector. So I want to change that, and I understand how to change that. So if I increase the production from 120,000 to 500,000, in this last budget, we had $1.4 billion as a contribution from our oil proceeds. At 120,000 barrels a day, we got $1.4 billion. Imagine if we are doing 500,000 barrels a day. That times 4. So 14 times 4 is what? 64 billion. $6.4 billion a year. If you increase your oil production from 120,000 to over 500,000, you will get over $6 billion into your what? Your budget. That is how you fix your infrastructure, and that is how you fix all the problems that I want to solve. So it's not about coming in and saying that, look, I think we should reduce taxes. If we don't reduce taxes in this country, look at the ports. We need to reduce import taxes at the ports because it's really what? Stifling growth. We will not have growth in this country and the economy will not boom if we don't reduce taxes. But the policy of this IMF and all the things that is happening is making us do what? Squeeze water from a rock. Ghanaians don't have money. We've drastically reduced disposable income. So now, after work, if you don't go straight home and you go and suck one beer, there'll be a problem.
All right, great. Let me bring in Dr. Oseko upon here. So for the NPP delegate, what should occupy the mind tomorrow when he is in the box to select which of the 10 will be part of the 5?
Thank you. So, I mean, real quick, in response to Mr. Kwejupuku. So I don't think the point I'm making is that what happens tomorrow at the super delegates is what would determine what would happen in the bigger electoral college of almost about 230,000 voters in November. But there's also, a certain psychological dynamic that tends to operate, in politics, right? I mean, whoever emerges the winner tomorrow or in the top 5 definitely, as a matter of politics, will try to claim some, quote unquote, some sort of momentum. Nobody really knows at the end of the day what these delegates would really do. They give reception to everybody, who shows up. But again, for me, as a matter of observation and curiosity, it would just be interesting to observe some of those dynamics and whether the bigger electoral college will or will not, take any cues or not from what happens tomorrow.
Okay.
In terms of what the super delegates would have, on their mind, but even beyond the super delegates, I think the key thing for the NPP Electoral College, as they figure out who should be their flag bearer for the 2024 election, will definitely be, as I've mentioned, I'm sure the primary thing on their mind is breaking the 8, right? So if they look at all the 10 candidates, who do they think has the best chance of allowing them, to break the 8, will definitely be, I think, the thing that, or at least in my opinion, I think that is what is going to drive the dynamics, of this race. Who can they hedge their bets on to allow them, to break the 8? But again, intra-party democracy is such that you never know what other dynamics or thinking, may be going in the minds of delegates and what they might do to, to torpedo this race. I have regularly said, and I don't have the benefit of any scientific polls or anything, but I have regularly said that for me, I will be very surprised if Dr. Bawumia doesn't do well tomorrow, pull it off, and doesn't pull it off ultimately in the primary. I've regularly said that. I think he's the establishment's candidate. He's the establishment's preference. Sure, the delegates may or may not do what the establishment wants them to do. They may want to go in a very different direction. But if I were to hedge my bets on any of the candidates pulling it off tomorrow in first position and pulling it off ultimately in November, my bet would be, on Dr. Bawumia. So again, I think for me that is what will be going in tomorrow. Of course, I'm sure there are other things that the super delegates may, and even the bigger electoral college may have on their mind, come November.
I mean, there's been talks about who can face off with, former President John Dramani Mahama, because he is the one on the ticket of the NDC. So with that in mind, and a lot of people say, well, there are people in this government who are the reasons why we are where we are, and so they shouldn't be part of it. If you look at the 10, I mean, who really can face off with John Mahama, that the delegate should look at that person and say, well, we should get this person?
So, among the candidates, right, anyone who has served in this government and given the challenges that we faced over the last couple of years, definitely would be tied to the governance and economic outcomes that we have experienced over the last 7 years. And so they would face a challenge there in terms of how do they, they can't throw their party under the bus in campaigning nationally, right? At the same time, they would have to embrace the government. So they face a dilemma of, how do I embrace what has happened in the last 7 years, whilst at the same time not coming up as throwing my party under the bus? So if that was going to be an albatross around the neck of any of the candidates, and therefore it would torpedo their chances of helping the NPP break the 8, then in an ideal world, the delegates might as well go for any of the candidates who are not part of this, part of this government. Do you see what I'm saying? So the likes of, Mr. Kweju Poku, Mr. Kwabneji Ejepol, they are still NPP, but at least they can extricate themselves from the albatross of not being part, of the party. So any of the candidates, particularly those who served in this government, are definitely going to have an uphill task, in going against former President John Mahama, specifically on the issues of the economy and how the economy, has turned out. And so who is there, who gives them the best chance to go against
John Mahama?
John Mahama. If the economy had been in a good shape, different story. But the way the governance outcomes have turned, I don't know I don't know which candidates to pick. Like I said, unless it's one of the outsiders, right? You know, one of them who was not part of this government and therefore can escape that albatross that will be hanging around their neck, trying to explain to, you know, Ghanaians in the general election that, look, I'm different, I can do it differently, I can produce different outcomes, because the question that would be thrown back at them by the Ghanaian voter is, well, this is your government, this has been your government, these are the pinch points that we've experienced, and how do you explain, you know, the extent to which you can do things differently? So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure which candidate I can stick my neck out for at this point in terms of who can give the former president a run for his money, quote unquote.
Okay, so it will be quite a difficult, contest there. But let me bring in head of political desk here at JoyNews, Evans Mensah, to help us out with how the whole thing will be tomorrow. Evans, good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
So even before we go into how the coverage will be, I mean, you've monitored the landscape for quite a long time. What do you make of this contest tomorrow, and what would be occupying the minds of the delegates on who they should allow into the last five?
If you put in the context of a presidential primary that elects a presidential candidate, tomorrow's contest is not a big deal. It's not as significant in the bigger scheme of things. Okay. It's only significant because it whittles down the number to five. But beyond that, it shouldn't be such a big deal, because the real race is in November. And in fact, many of the aspirants who have been studying the field are looking beyond the Saturday. That is, if you are confident of winning, you're looking beyond Saturday. So tomorrow shouldn't be such a big deal. And that is why it's only just 900 people out of the 200,000 of the delegates who are going to cast their ballots this special electoral college. So you don't expect tomorrow to be as acrimonious as what we'll possibly see after the fight has been whittled out. But for two of the candidates, tomorrow can be a big deal in terms of the margin of either topping or coming second. And I'm talking about Dr. Bawumia and Alan Kyerematen. For Dr. Bawumia, he wants an overwhelming victory. He wants something north of 70%. If he gets that, he would say that going into November, he obviously has the momentum on his side. For Alan Kyerematen, he wants to bring that number down to a level in terms of Bawumia's number. He wants to bring it down into a level where Bawumia will have to start panicking, because among the 900 people voting, and these are the elites of the party, there is a sense that, and we've seen going into this and the complaint that have come, that a significant number of that are people who are lying already to Dr. Bawumia's camp. And we've been reading some of the regional chairmen already declaring for Bawumia today, the papers, etc. So that is the view, and that is why there's a sense that this must be a very strong showing for Bawumia. If it isn't, there is going to be a problem down the line, because when the 200,000 people now begin to show up and vote in November, it could be. So that's the only reason why it's going to be interesting for the two. The other three who will form the five, many have said that you want to put in there Kennedy Japan, and he could possibly be a kingmaker down the line, right? And so that is important for him too. And then the other two, whichever that is, they will also look at their numbers to see in November, can I be a significant player in possibly pushing this into a runoff? So depending on your strength and your constituency, your permutations are different.
Okay. So how's our coverage going to be like?
So we are starting tonight. We're starting tonight at 8 to 10 p.m. with our Election Eve special. And this is an analysis show. We want to delve into the numbers, look at the trends, and help our audiences understand the entire contest and the field before the day. So when you join us at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, you have a great appreciation of what is about to happen. You know who the front runners are. You know who is possibly likely to win and come in second. You know who possibly is going to be getting into the top five and who may be falling off. So you are really settled. So you follow the process with great context and appreciation. That is why election eve specials are important for us. So we've done a lot of great work, some great research, looking at the NPP primaries over the years since 1992 and drawing the trend analysis. So that is what we'll be doing for 2 hours tonight. We're going to be having the party's communications director join us towards the end of it, so it helps us with preparation ahead of tomorrow. So we'll have the full picture by close of tonight. And this is going to be on the JoyNews channel and also on the Joy FM platform as well, and across our many social media platforms. And so that's tonight. And then tomorrow, we begin at 7 a.m. We're going to be crossing to all our correspondents across the country. There are 17 voting centers across the country, and we'll be in all of them. I mean, there are 2 of them in Accra alone, the national headquarters, and then YMCA will be at also. And then the picture will flow from the rest of the country, and we'll be there to cover everything whilst it happens. And we want to be in a position to give you a clearer sense of this by the time the voting ends at 1. And we're going to be having party executives joining us all the way from 7, walking us and navigating us through the processes. So those who will be joining us at 7 will understand the process. Also going in 9, the voting starts. Something that Unity will take over with news file and give us the essential developing and breaking news stories up until 12, when we take over again with full coverage getting into 4 p.m. when we hope to wrap this up, by which time we should know whose presidential ambition has been terminated and which 5 is going into November.
Okay, all right. We look forward to tonight's show and tomorrow as well. Thank you so much, Evans Mensah.
Thank you.
Evans is the head of our political desk here at JoyNews in studio. So I mean, 961 per the
955.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
You have the old sheet.
Oh.
It's 955.
Okay, so this is
it's been whittled down because we
okay.
had some issues with some people that were not supposed to be in the album.
Okay.
So the last number that came out is 955.
Oh, okay. So what I have here
is the old calculation.
Old one.
Yes.
Okay.
The latest that came last, I think 2 days ago, is 955.
Okay. Like Mr. Kwapon said, all the people who have been part of this government will definitely have a tough time. So it means that those who have not, including yourself, probably have the chance. If you look at those who have not, Kennedy Japan, Kwabene Japan, Adaini Mo,
Dr.
Preku, and yourself, you're like 5. Why must it be you?
Okay, so let me quickly say something to Evans, my brother. They shouldn't read too much inference into historical, because superdelegate has only been done once. It was only done in 2014. And in 2014, we had a very giant, imposing figure in the name of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And in that, he got over 90% in terms of the superdelegate. The times were different. We're in opposition. We've basically had a candidate for the last 2 elections, 2008, 2012. And basically everybody felt that, look, let's stick with the same person going into 2016 because it will be the best for the party and all that. If they read so much inference into the historicals of what has transpired in terms of superdelegate, they will probably get it wrong. But I mean, they always have a way of basically giving a good show to their viewers. So I just want to sound a word of caution to them in terms of making some conclusions based on the historical, because the historical data is a bit biased as compared to what going forward is going to be. No, we've
not even put it out. How do you say it's biased? Anyway,
no, I'm saying it's biased because in 2014, the number of the aspirants...
I'm not sure it's only going to be on the superdelegate. There are several things that...
but what they are going to do their analysis on is superdelegate.
Watch it tonight and see.
No, I'm just sounding a word of caution that they shouldn't do so much inference in what has happened in the past to what is going to happen tomorrow. It's just a word of caution. You said, why should it be me? Look, I have always said that to run this country and to basically have the multifaceted of problems, you need to have somebody who's energetic, not to sit in the air condition to do the work, have in-depth knowledge and understanding, 360 view of the problems of the country, and I do. People see me mostly as an energy expert, and they mostly see, but most of my campaign rounds and most of my conversations when I go on the ground, I don't talk about energy. I talk about education, I talk about health, I talk about GRIC, I talk about all the reforms I will do in all the various sectors of the economy. And in most part, saving money, not going on that borrowing spree in the finances of the country. So you need a young man who understands, have a 360 view of all the economy, not somebody who sits there and doesn't have a clue and has to rely on advisors, because we've seen what happens when advisors mislead you. So that is why I think that I'm the best suited to do this thing. People say, oh, but you don't have any experience, you've never been an assemblyman or MP before. Everybody keeps saying that to me, Kojo Poku. Meanwhile, the people everybody is touting to run the country has never done that thing either. Dr. Bawumia has never been anything. He's only been a banker, then became a vice president. Nothing in politics. No MP, no assemblyman, no constituency person, nothing. Alain Chamatin, same thing. Nothing. Became an MP, became a minister, right? And then now running for president. So when they said that to me, I'm confused because they say, no, you don't have any experience. And everybody should realize that nobody has presidential experience until you are president. Even when you do internship where the man travels for 5 days and you now sit there and you are not the president. Presidential experience is only the person who is president. So even if you are vice, even if you are minister, you go to cabinet, you do not have any presidential experience. Nobody does presidential internship. So we should stop that thing where people look at me and say that, oh, but you don't have any experience. What experience? No, I have successfully, let me learn. I have successfully run my own businesses for the last 20 years, and they are all successful. And business and governance are the same. You need to drive profit. You need to have good corporate governance in government.
So the people in there will mention to you, I mean, when you speak to Alain Chamatin, he will tell you, as a trade minister, I've done 1D1F, I've done vehicle assembly plant. A great minister will say, I've done planting for food and jobs.
Did he do it or the private sector did it? He didn't do it.
He would say that I've done
No, he didn't do it.
Vice President will talk about digitalization and all that
He didn't do it.
I mean,
he didn't. Look, let me,
there is something. Railways and all that.
My brother.
So, I mean, examples.
Okay, so let me give you an example. I understand IT 100% more than the vice president. Go back and check history. In 2000, when we were doing Y2K, I was an advisor to the government on Y2K. My background really, I've had 5-6 years work in IT. I work with soft. Go and ask Herman and Joe Jackson. When it comes to IT, digitalization, I understand it 100% than the vice president. Me, I can strip down a computer and put it together and wire a whole company for networks. I did Novell. So I was once a network administrator. Look, when people come to you with things and you accept it and you go and announce it, doesn't mean you understand it. When you are a minister and then there's a policy of 1D1F and companies put up their factories and you think you understand industries, no. When you minister of railway, you understand railway? No. You see, let's not tout these things when people do not. Anybody should interview the vice president on technology. Anybody should interview them on the areas they are in to see if they understand the technology that drives the digitalization that he talks about. Does he understand the works? Does he know what LJ45 is?
Is this on authority? Are you saying all of this?
Yes, because but what is his background? He's a banker.
But it doesn't mean he doesn't know.
What
is your background?
That's the point. My background transcends a lot of areas. My brother, I know him. I'm telling you, I know him. He was a banker at Bank of Ghana. Then he became vice president. Then he's now he's become a running mate and vice president. We know Alain Chamatin. He's been a business, he's a lawyer. We know all these people, and Jogate is a lawyer. Kojo Poku, I'm a 360 guy, I'm a hustler. I have been a contractor. I have been an IT professional. I am now an energy expert. I have run energy companies for 23 years. I have done defense transactions at the Ministry of Defense. So it tells you that in my 20 years of waka in this country, nobody on that 10 has done what I have done. It's the fact. act.
Really?
Yes.
So you're trying to say that all of them?
No, I'm telling you that when it comes to when it comes to practical experiences in the field of business in all these sectors, they don't. Go and ask what the CPU is. Go and ask the vice president what the CPU is. No, I'm just telling you.
Oh, I mean, even my kid who is in class 4,
no, because he's been taught what a CPU is.
So
but the point I'm trying to get across is somebody should one day interview him and ask him what's a Pentium 45. They should ask him, what is Pentium? Listen, when we have Windows 360, before we got to Windows 85, right? When we have the 286 and the 386 computer, before we got to Pentium, I was assembling computers.
But you see...
No, let me land. So when it comes to networks, what drives digitalization, what drives networks, I understand the ditto. So listen, what I'm trying to put across is that you ask me why it should be me. And I'm giving you why it should be me. I'm saying that of all the people, none of them have done the hustle I have done in my life. I'm the youngest, but I have hustled in various sectors more than any of them.
You see, but the leader doesn't mean you have to know it all.
No,
you have to be able to manage a team.
Yes.
To achieve your objectives.
Yes, I agree.
So if, for example, the Vice President, the Minister for Railways Development, Alan Chamanting, Dr. Afriya Koto, were managing their teams to achieve the objectives.
So you're walking back what you said. You are telling, you are walking it back. Okay. So what you said was that this person have done this, this person have done this, this person have done this.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that nobody has presidential experience until you've been president.
Okay.
But you said that this person have done 1D, 1F.
Yes.
This person have digitalization. And I'm saying that when you go down that lane, then I, Kujupoku, have practical experiences in doing those things myself. Yes, a leader assembles a team. No, let me land. There are different type of leaders. There are leaders who sit, assemble people, listen to them, and take advice and make a decision. There are leaders who sit and basically play devil's advocate in getting the best out of his team. So there are all different type of leaders. If you are a leader and you rely on your team to give you a one-pager, and you read the one-pager, you need to understand that one-pager. And I'm saying that of all the 10, the person who has a 360 view on most of the things that drive this economy is me.
It's you.
Because if you give me that one-pager, I would understand it. There is no bullshitting. You cannot come and confuse me. When it comes to the energy sector, it comes to the financial sector, it comes to defense contracts, it comes to digitalization, IT, communication. Look, let me tell you something today. Glow that is no longer here. I, Kojupoku, registered Glow in Ghana and I brought Glow. Nobody knows that. Glow Ghana. If you go to the Registrar General and look at Glow Ghana, their address, it was my house that was registered in. And then guy is my personal friend. I registered Glow Ghana in Ghana. Globacom. Who knows that? Nobody. So let's not go there. Go and ask Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson was the head of technical in NCA at the time when I was doing the Glow transaction. And you come to me and talk to the guys at NCA how well I understand technology when it comes to cellular. Why is that? Because in 92 to 94, when hardly anybody knew about mobile phones, I had a mobile phone shop in London. I used to repair mobile phones. I used to repair E-Tags and Sony Ericssons. Those days. Those ones, not the GSM ones, the non-digital ones, the analog ones. I could strip them up and put them together.
But your Glow didn't survive.
Well, that's fine. That's a different conversation. But I'm trying to tell you that when you come to communication, you come to the technology, intranet and networks, whether you have cellular network, whether it's GSM,
let me break you in here and bring in Professor Ransford Jampo. He's a political scientist. Prof, good morning to you and thanks for joining us here. Going into tomorrow, will there be any surprises that we should expect? Hello, Prof.
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you now.
I do not expect any surprises. I believe the delegates who would be deciding on who must lead the party as flag bearer may have decided already. The various aspirants, I think, have gone to the delegates and have given them their message. I want to believe that given the decentralized, are they given the nature of the elections that are going to be held, and the fact that so many interventions or rules have been put in place to ensure that the voters just vote according to their conscience. I want to believe that they have decided already in their minds, and so I do not expect to see much surprises.
Okay. From how things are going, and from, I mean, whatever you followed, who are likely to make the first five?
Oh, you! I don't like doing this.
Okay.
For me, it's not necessary. What is important in my mind in this whole flag bearership race is who becomes the flag bearer of the party. Tomorrow is just a curtain raiser.
Okay.
And to my mind, the outcome of tomorrow's election would mean nothing as far as I'm concerned for the quest for whoever would emerge victorious and be the flag bearer of the party.
Okay.
Whoever is first, whoever is second, whoever is third, or whoever is fourth, whoever is fifth, will still have a lot of work to do. And for me, it is beyond what will happen tomorrow that would really matter in determining the electoral fortunes of the flag bearer hopeful.
All right. Now, once you talk about the fact that the person will have a lot to do, many people have said that people who have been in government should not be allowed in there because they would then mean that they don't have a message going into 2024. Do you agree with those people who say that? And how should the party decide on who becomes part of the first five?
Well, it depends on the message that will be given by the various aspirants. I think the decision should be based on the message of the various aspirants. So if you are part of the government or you have been in government, and then things are not working well now in Ghana, how do you extricate yourself or assure yourself from the blame? And what have you done? What did you do differently in government, or what are you doing that can be seen as different from what the current government is doing? These are some of the things that some people will tell you that, you see, government or leading a country, so it's all about the vision of the leader. And so, well, I may not share the vision of the leader, but I would not also have to sabotage the leader. And so I may have to go by what the leader says. But if you give me the nod, I may do things different. These are some of the things that people may want to be saying. And of course, you know that some also have resigned, like Chairman Ting. He left to be able to prosecute his campaign. And so he, I believe, would also have a lot of things to tell delegates, and I'm sure he told them. And the other aspirants. So it's a message that the aspirants have given to the delegates that would feature in determining who must be given the nod. I must say that all the aspirants have the pedigree to lead the party, but at the end of the day, one of them will emerge victorious. And like I indicated earlier, it's not so much about what is going to be done tomorrow that for me matters. The caliber of people who are going to be voting tomorrow are not the same. They pale in comparison with those who are at the grassroots. And so it is the majority of the voters who are also at the grassroots. And so what is important is, yes, let's see what happens tomorrow. But at the end of the day, it is the majority of the sum total of expected voters who will be voting to determine who leads as flag bearer. And so one may be third in this particular race or tomorrow's race, but it is possible that the person can have a message that will resonate with the majority of the voters, particularly those at the grassroots, and come up as first. One may be second and come up at first, and then also one may be first and still maintain the position. So tomorrow cannot be a done deal at all. Whoever comes up, whatever position one comes up tomorrow, would not mean anything, and it would also not have to ingrain complacency in the psyche of anyone. There will be a lot of work to be done until the battle is over.
All right, grateful. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us here with your thoughts. So that's Professor Ransford Jampode. Dr. Osei points to that. So, Doc, you've heard all the issues. Kwadwo Poku says, if you look at all of them, he's better placed than all the other candidates. He should be part of the first five. When people go to the polling station tomorrow to cast their vote, and we've all said that if you look at the numbers and the composition, a lot of them seem to favor Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. But could there still be some surprises tomorrow? Is it likely?
Tough one. From where I sit, I'm not sure tomorrow's. I'm not sure. I'm really not 100% sure if there would be anything really surprising about the outcome tomorrow. I mean, I stand corrected. I could be wrong, but from my observations, from following the campaigns of the candidates, I'm not terribly sure that anything would surprise us that much tomorrow. Which is why, for me, like I said, one of the things that I would be looking for would be who emerges in the top five, the margins, between them, all of those things. Yes, it's a pruning exercise for the much bigger context, in November. But politics is such that these things, whoever wins, I'm sure, would claim, momentum, try to spin it in their favor as much as possible. Whoever emerges in the top five, even if they emerge in the top five with 2%, I'm sure would make the argument that, this is just a dress rehearsal. It doesn't mean much. The bigger and most important context is November. The dynamics of politics, the rhetoric of politicians and all of those things, depending on how, things go or do not go, their way. So I think at the end of the day, we'll just have to wait and see, what happens tomorrow, and then we can, take it from there and reflect on whether we were surprised or not surprised.
How must the delegate, measure a person's ability to lead the party into 2024 and even win?
You are never too sure all the things that go into, the minds of delegates when they are picking a candidate. Like I said, I'm sure one of the things would be, who can help us win the 2024 election and break the 8. But I'm also sure that delegates also reward commitment to the party. So, for example, one of the things that I've always said about President Nana Akufo-Addo is that, through it all, the good times and the bad times, he was someone who always showed dedication, love, and support for the party. And therefore, I'm not surprised that on three different occasions, he was the party flag bearer. And the last time they used the super delegate system, it was very overwhelming, in his favor. I'm sure things like that are things that party delegates reward. I'm sure they look at the connections to the grassroots, how much they've been or not been for them, and all of those things. But ultimately, every political party is in a race to win. And so I'm sure they do hedge their bets on not just who they think can win, but who also is able to convince them that, look, if you take your chances with me, I'm the one who can, bring that victory home. Ultimately, this is just within the party. Even if you can win within the party, you also have to have an eye to the national election and also make that calculus and say, if we go with this guy for the party on the national stage, what are our chances? And I'm sure all of those things come into play as they try to, figure out. And then, of course, there are other, influences, the endorsements and all of those things. So it's not one specific thing that you would say that's the deal breaker, for delegates. And as the late Sir John said, fear delegates. You never know what they'll do anyway.
Okay. But for you and from your readings of the space, who amongst the 10 can really face it up with John Mahama if you are sticking your neck out?
If I'm sticking my neck out, I tend to refer to Honorable Kennedy Japong as the establishment's anti-establishment candidate, right? His vociferous nature, those kinds of things, right? Maybe he can, see he has a history of both. He's an establishment politician, but also has a history of taking on the establishment, taking on his own party. He has record of launching criticisms at people in his own party, etc., etc. So maybe that may buy him, some grace, some good graces to be able to take that. But frankly, honestly, like I said before, I'm not sure how or should I put it this way, any candidate, from the party, but particularly those who served in this government, would still have that uphill task of extricating themselves from the governance outcomes that we have seen and making the case that they should still continue the party in power. Whoever can make a case of
all right,
why that shouldn't be so, I think maybe, but yeah, it's tough to stick out.
All right, let me bring in Professor Kobe Mensah. He is a political marketing expert. Prof, grateful that you are joining us. We are told that you're out of the jurisdiction, but you still find time to join us. Who amongst the 10 do you think has been able to market himself so well to the delegates that he stands a chance of topping the list tomorrow?
Hello?
Prof?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. Can you say it again, please?
Okay, so I was asking that with your background as a political marketer, who amongst the 10 do you think has been able to market himself so well to the delegates that he stands a chance of topping the list or being part of the first 5?
Well, I suppose when you talk about marketing, obviously this is an internal politics, primaries. So certainly you would say that almost all of them are connected to the delegates. We have seen media reports the various kind of visits that the candidate has made, particularly Alan Chamantin, Baumia, for example, and then of course you have Kennedy Japan. You've seen Kwabene Japan also going around with a lot of media attention, a lot of reports on there. You've seen Boate Jaku. So pretty much almost all of them. Of course, the agri minister had been seen connecting with the delegates. So from the perspective of say that personal selling, i.e. meeting the delegates, they have pretty much done that. Of course, in marketing, there are other things that you want to talk about apart from the idea that they are meeting the people. You're also talking about the brand's own equity, the kind of things that they say that kind of go a long way to benefit them or their position. So for me, I think that in terms of they putting themselves forward, almost all the major candidates have done that from the evidences that we've seen in the media, their engagement with the people. So if you want to take that one as the marketing, then certainly they have. But of course, in terms of marketing, we're also looking at how targeted they are. Of course, you've got to segment and target your market with particular messages, and with particular, sort of attention. That, of course, you would also see differences in there. Some have actually targeted the delegates with specific messages about how they would do or what they would do to improve their livelihoods. Some have promised, paying them. Others have said that they will give them 10 slots in government. So different kinds of messaging targeting the delegates, to secure their vote. So I think that extensively, the major candidates have been seen, adequately, marketing themselves to the delegates.
Okay. Interesting. Let's see how it goes tomorrow. Thank you so much, Professor Kobe Mensah, for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let me come back to the studio because one of the aspirants who is upbeat about tomorrow is still here with us here. So for you, I mean, all of these people are not overly qualified than you, that they should be placed above you, and that tomorrow you expect to be part of the first five.
Yeah, when it comes to the race that we are all in, I don't think that's why I disagree with that. You don't have experience and overly qualified. I think we all have our own individual qualification in our own brackets. There's a thing that nobody is talking about, and that's because I tell you that most people have not spoken to delegates. The state the delegates are in, okay? Are they happy with how they are as delegates in the party? As members of the party, are they happy? Nobody's talking about that. You listen to most of your people, nobody is bringing out that. One of the first things when you talk to every party member, they talk about is the state they are in. As a party in government, do they feel that they are happy with the state they are in?
What do they need to be happy?
Well, look, everybody needs to feel that, one, if you are in opposition, there's a certain feel because there's a level of sacrifice that is expected of you. Okay, so we are in opposition, everybody should sacrifice, tighten your belt, we'll get there, we'll be able to now make sure that everybody's okay, because then there will be a lion's share, the cake will be spread evenly, and everybody will feel like we are in government. Because when you're in opposition, we all know the feel. Now that we've been in power for 7 years, the feel of some people is worse than when we were in opposition. They don't feel that we are in government. There are opportunities that they feel should come their way that don't come their way. There are some empowerment that they feel should come their way that's not coming their way. That is one of the key things that every delegate complains about. And none of your people are talking about it. Do you know why? Because they've not spoken to these delegates. Whether who leads the party into 2024, who breaks the 8 and all those things, that's secondary. Okay? The primary, anybody going to vote tomorrow has an individual. He has a will, a wish. They want to advance themselves politically. Is the current setup set up in such a way to advance them?
So how will you make them happy?
How would I make them happy? To address, look, there is a certain amount of ignore. And when people go around saying certain things that, we'll give 10 slots and all that, this 10 slot thing everybody talks about, it's something that was said in 2016.
10 slots to who?
Well, in the vice president campaign, he said that when he becomes president, he will give 10 slots of appointment to every constituency. Okay. And some of us have said that, but that exists already. Just that is not being done. In 2016, we told the party people that we'll give them 10 slots. And whilst we've been in power for 7 years, the constituencies are sitting there and they've not seen these 10 slots. Okay? So, look, like I said, Kojo Poku is fresh, I'm new. Now I have the opportunity because now my word is my bond. If I tell them something and in the next 4 years I mess up, then I become like anybody else. But I have really promised myself and said to myself that, look, I want to be different, and I am going to be different. So the reason I have gone around and sold myself and told the people that, look, trust in me, believe in what I tell you, because there's two things that will happen. It's either I'm a liar or I'm truthful. If I'm a liar, I become like everybody else. You call me, you don't get me, you have problems, I can't help you solve it. I leave you in the state that you are in. I don't help you advance your political career all your life, okay? I'm not able to assist you. Then my relationship with you becomes transactional. And next time I come to you, You just basically said, for us in Florida, last time you came and talked and we never heard from you again. Which is what the traditional politician does. But as a businessman who have left his business, and I'm doing so well in that business, to go into the field of active politics, I honestly don't want to fall prey to that. I want to be a change. I want to be a breath of fresh air so that everybody will say that, we supported this man and we've never regretted it.
Is it not because you've not been into or been in office like they have? Be a minister.
What's the difference?
Be a minister or vice president where you have a whole country to manage, and therefore your time is you don't have that free time for you to engage like the way you will because you are in a private business.
So let me say something to you. If you're a minister or you are an MP, MPs even have more wahala than ministers. Okay, so you're an MP, you have a whole constituency that everybody comes to you with the nitty-gritty. Everything comes to an MP. Some MPs are so good that if today you try to compete them, people will laugh at you. Why is that? Because they understand the work they have been given and they've put themselves to do. Why are some MPs having challenges that people have vowed to take them out because they don't even come to the constituency? So it's a choice. It's not about whether I have not been there, but I have friends and siblings who are MPs, right? And I have friends who are ministers, who are MPs, and I have friends who are ministers and MPs. You call them, you send them messages, they reply and all that, and everybody attests that, Asuma Sidiye, this is how he is. And there are ones that, nothing. You call them, text them, they don't mind you because it's the arrogance they build. Then they only come to you when they need power to now say that, take this and vote for me, because they want to have a transactional relationship. So look, it's difficult. I'm not saying it's not difficult. Having maybe 200, 300 WhatsApp messages constantly coming on you to be able to go through all that. But that's why you also have assistants. Okay? So assistants or your PAs and your secretaries are to help you manage some of these things. If you don't have the right structure, then you'll be overwhelmed. If you have the right structure in place, the first and foremost of any elected politician is that you need to sharpen your people's skills. It's not how well you are. And that's why I don't agree with when people say that you should protect people who have done well in parliament. We have some good quality in parliament and they are there, they are doing marvelous work, we should protect them in the constituency. No. You are elected by the people. Attend to the people at the same way you attend to your work. If not, the people should kick you out. So I believe in that. Look, I was brought up in politics and raised by a very marvelous woman. One of the things that pain me is that she's not around to see what will happen tomorrow. Honorable Rebecca Hawa Yakubu Ogide. And I learned so much from that woman that her demeanor, her response to everybody, doesn't matter how busy she is, she knew how to make sure everybody was attended to. And that's why she was so great a politician. So that excuse that, I'm busy, I can't attend, I'm a minister, is just people's arrogance. There are good politicians who attend to everybody as much as they can or have structures that address those problems. The fact that you are not doing it is not an excuse because that is the position you are running for. Today, if I'm president and I complain about the number of people calling my phone, I have no right to complain. Because that you're a private person, you came into politics, so people should call you and text you as much as they can.
Really?
Yes.
The president?
Yes.
You are ruling over 30 million people.
Well, if you
are the flag bearer, for example, if we should use your vote as probably those are your base, you have more than 5 million people. And if everybody is calling you, and even if you have assistant, can you really
Okay, so let me say one thing. The reason everybody is calling a politician, do you know why? Because things are not going well. If you fix the problems, nobody will call you. They are calling you because what? Today, people are calling the MP or the minister for work because there's no jobs. People are calling the MP or the minister because they feel that they've applied for something and they need protocol because there's no fairness. If all these things are fixed, there are abundance of jobs. There are fair play in appointments and in application. Why would the person call you to bother you? You understand? The reason that people are calling politicians and overwhelming them is because there is nothing happening at the base. If everything is well, and that's one thing I want to do as president, I want to fix the problems. If the problems are fixed, then there'll be no need. People will go about their business. If you're busy working, why would anybody want to bother themselves? Maybe he's calling you to greet you. Oh, Miti Kujunka, my friend in Chiano. But the only reason 80% of the calls to politicians is people looking for help because they have no jobs. It's people looking for employment because they have no jobs. It's people looking for maybe a protocol because they want to do something, they are facing stumbling blocks. Okay? But if these things work, the number of people calling politicians will reduce. And that is why I think that we should fix the problems. I think that some politicians don't want to fix the problem because they love that lord that they lord over us.
Oh, really?
I think so. Because why won't you solve the problem?
Including your government?
Including everybody. I mean, why don't you solve the problems? So if you don't solve the problem and you think that everybody has to come to you, so that is why I think that first things first, let's resolve the problems in the country. Let's basically make sure that we tackle the nitty-gritty. Make sure people are... Look, there's two conversations I've always said. There is a standard of living conversation and there's infrastructure conversation.
Okay.
I, Kojupuku, I've always said that I think Ghanaians prefer the standard of living conversation, and then you do that, the infrastructure conversation. Because you can build all the infrastructures. If there is nothing in the person's pocket and there is no disposable income to take care of the needed things in the community or at home or anything, then the person will always want to call you for something. And the reason our policy is becoming money-based is because there's nothing. If the person sits there the whole year, he has not even gotten 50 cedis to pay certain things, and all of a sudden he has a chance to make money, why won't you ask?
So you're saying on authority that politicians intentionally...
No, I'm not saying... I said,
I
know where you're going, but...
So you're saying that politicians do not want to solve our problems because they want to lord over the people all the time.
Some, not all. Some politicians
do not want to solve it.
Some politicians do not solve the problems that they can solve.
Okay.
Because they are happy to lord over the people. Some, not all.
Is that how we can describe the current government? Because
no, I wouldn't even lump everybody and paint with one brush. No. Some are doing good jobs. Some,
no, okay.
I'm not saying that
the government.
No. But you can't do that. You can't. The government is made up of multifaceted of people. You can't say the government is not. I'm saying politicians as individuals. There are ministers who have been put in positions to do their work, and they're not doing their work.
So in the people you are in the race with, who amongst them has not been able to solve the challenges because he wants to lord over the people?
Honestly, come on, why would you say that? But none of the people I'm running with are the people that you think I would describe as that. There are people who have done well in their various fields and they feel comfortable enough to lead the party. Why would you think? I don't think they will be classed as some of the politicians who want to not fix the problem, Lord. If not, they will not be in this race. Because we all want to lead the party to help the problems of the party. So I don't think that you want to go down that line of the 10 that are in this. We are the elite. 10 of the elite in the party who wants to lead the party. They all mean well. We all mean well to fix the problems of the party. So I don't think their intent is to lord. I'm saying that some politicians do that. Doesn't mean that everybody, and you cannot say government. The government is a big chunk of the community. Not everybody in there has that intent. But I repeat, some politicians do not because they feel that they want to lord over the people, but some.
How disappointed will you be tomorrow if you're not part of the first five?
I won't be disappointed. Me? No. I've done too well. My brother, where I am today, I'm a beacon of hope for a lot of youth. I'm a beacon of hope for a lot of people. I'll be so happy with myself tomorrow if I don't make it, because it will be a fight well fought, a journey well traveled, right? An experience that I can never share with anybody except myself. I have traveled the country 3 times. I have met people and sat with people, otherwise I would not have met them. I've been invited to people's houses and shared so much wisdom and given blessings. Why would I be disappointed? There are 10 people, only 5 can go through. If I'm not through, I will look at who I can back. We'll back them on November 4th. The person wins. We all back that person to wrestle power for 2024.
But you believe you're the right person for the
am
job.
the right person.
Yes.
But look, listen. Me, what I believe, my work was to go around the country, meet, sit, talk with delegates to tell them what I think they should do. That delegate enters that booth and he's with himself and his God, who they decide to vote for. And 99% I know I'm going to be part of that 5. And I'm going to shock people. But let's say that doesn't happen. That 1% of your delegate happens and I'm not part of the 5. I, Kojupuku, have done so well. 2 years ago, nobody in this country associated my name with the leadership of NPP. Today, I'm on the ballot. So, look, personally, I'm happy where I am. I'm on cloud 9. What happens tomorrow will be an icing on the cake. Whether there will be icing or there will be no icing, there will still be a cake. So let's not let anybody think that I will be disappointed tomorrow. No way. I'm only 49 years. If the Lord gives me another 30 years, I'll be 79. And if I have good genes like my uncle J. Kufuor, then I'll probably be 90 years. And I'll be around for another 40 years. You know what the sky is for me in terms of politics and my style of politics? My brother, we've just started this journey. So there's no disappointed in my life.
Did you come into the race to win?
Yes.
Really?
But I don't vote for everybody. If I had to vote for myself to win, then I came in to win, so I'll vote myself to win. I came in to win, but I have to sell my message to people to vote for me. If they don't think that it's time for me to go, fine, I will thank them and move on. Look, in Chi, if the heavens believe that is my time, I will be. Nobody can stop that.
How much have the delegates been demanding of you when you go?
How much? Nothing. Look, I'll give you an example. In one of the regions, after the meeting, and these are the things that you guys should let people understand. When it comes to you traveling, most of the times it's easier for us to meet in the regional capitals because these are more like constituency chairmen and the regions that you are meeting. So some chairmen have to travel like 4 hours. So I'll give you, like in the Northeast, if you have somebody come from Tripoli to, let's say, Narugu, it's like 3 hours. In Western region, somebody come from maybe Jomoro to Takrady, it's like 3.5 hours. If you are to travel there, it's your cost of fuel you have to go. But if you want these chairmen to travel to meet you in the regional capital, the least you can do is to pay for their fuel that they used to come. So that's what we do. And that's what I do. I basically just give them, I beg them to come and meet me, and I'll give them their fuel. So I give them fuel, the in and out fuel, which is the fairness because the person is sitting in their house. The right thing is for you to go to them. If you are begging them to come to you, you have to buy their fuel.
How much each?
It depends where they're coming from. If the person is local, then there's no fuel. The person is coming from far, you calculate the fuel and give the person. But the point is, when I was in one of the regions, right, they didn't want to take the fuel. They said, look, for what I'm doing, they want to basically help me with whatever I came with to give them for the fuel. I should take it and use it for my campaign. And I said, no. I'm begging them because I don't want them to be out of pocket.
They don't want to take it.
They don't want to take anything.
Okay. Let me bring in Professor Amwakoba. He is Dr. Amwakoba. He is a political scientist and also has leanings to the governing NPP. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
You've been in this race before. I mean, you wanted the national chairmanship, I think. Yes. What's your expectation like for tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow is a special election. It's not like electing the chairman or anything like that. That one is not as high an agenda. But this one is the highest because whoever goes through stands the chance of becoming the flag bearer. Then, of course, it still stands the chance of becoming the president of the republic. So this is high stakes. That's the difference. Ours was just 2 notches down, this one. And so when the stakes are high, you know the tensions will be high.
Are we supposed to expect any surprises tomorrow? You know the party very well. You know the delegate.
Well, the real agenda is not for some people. It is not to just eliminate some. For some people, they have a different agenda. They want to look at the percentage of win, the margin of victory, and from that, they come in with the main agenda. I'm talking about Baumia's camp.
Okay.
And he came out about 2 days ago. When Ofeche Bonchi was saying, we all know he's a Baumia supporter. He said it before. Now he says, if any candidate gets more than 70%, it will be wise for the party to throw their support behind such a candidate and make him on the stage. That is the agenda for them. So if you see they are working very hard, that's what it is.
Will that agenda happen? Is it something that could possibly happen?
Oh, it's entirely possible. That's why they fought against concentration in one area. That's why they agreed to holding the election nationwide. It makes no sense. It's too expensive for the candidate to gather the resources to provide for all their officers nationwide, as opposed to one venue. But that's what the party said. And what they did makes no sense, because it makes the contest too expensive, even for the electoral commissioner and all of that, too expensive. Nationwide, as opposed to one place. We want to Kofodia for the national chairman. What is wrong with that? The logistics will be the same. But they don't want that. They want to be able to maneuver certain things, right? To Ghana, they paid a lot of money to people. We know all these things. To get them to get overwhelming support, even in this event. This is not the main event. This is the event before the event. But they are working very hard so that they can come up with the agenda and say, look at here, this man is very, very, very popular. They will see, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because those who are voting for this period will not be the same ones who vote in the general election. Their outlook is very different. The so-called super delegates. How many? It's the MP, CEOs. These are people on the higher level of the economic system in Ghana. So their outlook is different. So we should not use their outlook as a general outlook of the population. It isn't right.
How much are they paying people to vote for them? You mentioned that they are paying some people.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't received one myself, so I can't tell. But I know they are doing it. You saw it at Aseno, not so. You saw it at Aseno, money in bags, in barrel of bags, being distributed. It didn't work. But this time I don't know, because maybe the money is bigger. When the money is big enough, they will do what you want. That's how it is. We need money. People need money. So the MPs need money. They've been given money, so they go along. This is what is going on.
So you are anticipating that Dr. Bawumia may probably win by a margin. It shouldn't.
That one, it's a done deal. He will win. But whether he will win by that large margin, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. He will win. But this time, we are not looking for who will win. We are looking for who is out. That's what this election is about. It's not about who wins.
But you are warning that margin should not be made to seem as though it is a representative of the entire.
That's what they want to do. But I have said, even if the margin is 95, we will not agree, because it's against the Constitution. We will still demand the runoff, the final run. That is, their agenda is to use this as an excuse to let him go unopposed. We will not agree to that. The party does not belong to him. Look at this situation. This man was not even a member of NPP. He was not a member of NPP. It's Nanado who brought him in. Talk to the people. Those who were vying for president, people in there had ambition to become vice president. Why not? And consideration for Nanado, they say, okay, bring him. The party constitution says you must be a member for 5 years, at least 5 years, before you can contest for position. You bring someone from the outside, not a member at all, and he quickly jumps to the front as vice presidential candidate. And when you won, you become vice president. Not so. You ran 3 times before you won, 12 years. Now, you spent 4 years already. You still want another 4 years. That'll be 20 years. 20 years. Why? There are no other persons in the party for this outsider to jump in the front and remain there for 20 years. Audacity. After you served the honor of being vice president, you still want to go, what, for 8 more years? No. Just for decency alone, this is not right.
Okay.
Some people say he's a member of the party, so what? The rules are there. They consider you and let you come. If you are decent, you will look at that and say, no, I can't do this. There were people there before me. They allowed me to become president. That's an honor. But this man is not honest, because he's the main man who said, because he's a Northerner, he's the one they took to go and represent NPP. Oh, what a shame. A big honor like this. You became the face of the party. Now, this is what you're saying because it's convenient for you. This man, no, he should not become president because he has no honor. That's what I say, honestly. At one time he was my friend, but I'm telling you the truth. What I've seen is what I've seen. I can say a whole lot more, but it's not warranted here.
Okay. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us with your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Amakoma is a political scientist. Okay. Well, let me take my final remarks from Dr. Osei Kwapong. Doc, so once we are parting with, what will be your final comment?
Looking forward with excitement tomorrow. As a political observer, as a political scientist myself, these things really, really interest me. And I'm sure we'll be back sometime next week to have a follow-up conversation on what happened.
Thank you so much. Dr. Osei Kwapong is a CDD fellow. Mr. Kwadwo Poku is one of the candidates. Your final remarks.
Well, let me say something off the back what Doctor said earlier. I think, look, as a party, we should have a hard look at our constitution, whether in the future we would not want to amend our constitution to let vice presidents contest. I think it's something we should do. I've been told that it's been looked at in the past. There was a document, but for some reason it got lost in.
But to prevent the vice president from running,
contesting, yes, when he's really? Sitting, yes, it's not fair. Look, I'm running with two hands behind my back. You cannot strip the vice president of his role as vice president if he's sitting and running. All ministers have to resign and run, okay? But the vice president, who can travel with all the benefits of being the vice president, he can go to 5 regions in a day. He cannot do that. He uses the logistics of the vice president and the presidency. And he doesn't basically pay for fuel, he doesn't pay for anything and all those things. The advantage that a certain vice president has in running for office against some of us is unfair. But for me, that's not the conversation we should start now. But in the long term, the party should really look at it that, look, a vice president should either go out for 4 years before coming back, or maybe do as we do with the ministers, resign 18 months before you contest. Because really and truly, for what is happening now, and because of fear of people's jobs, people are, look, there are people who are being called parliamentary candidates, right, who are contesting, and they're getting anonymous phone calls that, look, if you do this against them, they will make sure you lose. And, you know, so my point is, that office of the vice president, if it's running against people like us, it becomes a bit unfair in terms of what resources that exist within that system and people like us. So in the long term, we should really look at it as a party, whether we want to encourage that.
Okay, I'm grateful. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
For tomorrow, and then we'll be here on Monday to do the post.
Call me Saturday, tomorrow evening after 3 o'clock.
We'll do
and then maybe I wouldn't hear you call because the noise will be too much.
Okay, so that's Kwadwo Poku. He is part of the 10 who are vying for the 5 slots for the main Congress in November. Well, we'll see how tomorrow goes, but grateful that you've been here. We have more for you here on the AM show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.